because he was protected by the court when he was writing it. So when he wrote the Canterbury Tales, it would have been fine. However, once Arundel, Archbishop Arundel and Henry IV took over the throne in 1399, then it became a totally different question. Suddenly, from this age, which was a bit like the 60s, when you could think anything, you could say anything, you could write anything, try anything, have a good time. Suddenly, it was a blanket, well, a wet blanket really went over the nation. It was like the skies became dark. Suddenly you couldn't say anything, and nobody knew what you could say and what you couldn't say. And what Arundel does when he puts Henry IV into power, is that he, like Bush, declares the war on terrorism. He had to find a common enemy. So he declared a war on heresy, just like the war on terror. And the war on heresy, the great thing about that was nobody knew quite what was heresy. How was he going to define heresy? So Arundel could enjoy himself refining his definition of heresy as he went along. And then you pick people up, and he would certainly have regarded the Canterbury Tales as a book he would want to get rid of, because it was criticising the church, monk, the prioress, the friar, the pardoner, the summoner, criticising the officers of the church in English, and that would have been something that Arundel would have stamped on and would have prescribed. So you can say when Chaucer wrote the book, it would have been controversial for the church, but it didn't matter because he was protected by the king. Once you got the church and the king together under Henry IV, then it was a lost cause, and I'm sure it was suppressed for maybe 10 years or something.
There would be no more poor parsons wending their way to Canterbury. If they were suspected of harbouring Lollard views, they would be heading for St. Paul's Cross, if not worse. The holy blessed martyr Thomas Becket, the church's strong man of his day, had been replaced by a new archbishop made of steel. This was a man who may have succeeded in turning the bawdy, humorous and flawed Chaucer into a martyr of sorts, not in the sacred precinct of Canterbury Cathedral, but in accommodation nearby, Saltwood Castle, which also came under the control of the Diocese of Canterbury.
I thought, well, isn't it odd that Chaucer disappears at the same time? And what could have been going on? What were the politics of the time? So it's been quite a long journey, sort of actually trying to unravel that, and then coming to realizing about the usurpation, realizing about Arundel hating any criticism of the church in English, and of course it helps to explain why we have no coherent manuscript of the Canterbury Tales, because I'm sure if Arundel did take any action against Chaucer, he would have got rid of Chaucer's authorial copy, which would have been the most precious thing around. And we only have snatches of the Canterbury Tales because they were preserved secretly. It seems to be in the Ellesmere manuscript and in Henningworth and a few other manuscripts. But we have no manuscripts from Chaucer's lifetime. I think Arundel must have done a pretty good job of trying to get rid of any of these things that were critical of the church and stirring up anti-church feeling.